Takže rád bych teď představil Hermana Bauera, což je náš HSM KeyManagement guru, který vám osvětlí tuto problematiku a vlastně naváže tak na paní Hotovou ohledně KeyManagementu a zabezpečení vlastně klíčů a jejich uložení. Herman, stage is yours.
Thank you, Andre. So hello everyone. How are we all doing? Is there still some concentration left? I hope so. So I know after this presentation we have a break, and I hope you will join me through this session on, sorry, just one too much, on key management and HSMs. This is some very central and critical SafeNet technology. My role in SafeNet is Director of HSM Business Development for the EMEA region. And without much ado, I want to just go briefly through the agenda. So please bear with me, but I will repeat some of the messages we have heard before. Secure the breach, because we think that's so critical and fundamental, this shift in mindset, and we think we need to just stress this a few more times. But of course I will not spend too much time on this. After this introduction we will talk about cryptography, the central, let's say, technology in protecting information. From then on we'll look at key management, primarily centralized or enterprise key management, and we will also of course look at hardware security modules, which form the trust anchor, the root of trust for our critical keys. And last but not least we will just conclude with a brief summary of the SafeNet HSM portfolio. So you've heard this before from Jason, from Miguel. Data breaches are exploding, it's a fact. You just open the news, you look in the media, the internet, every day some data breaches are occurring. So we have to accept this as a given, as a fact. We also need to understand that data, that information is fluid. It's just moving everywhere. It's copied in multiple locations. It's shared between businesses, between customers, between business partners. It's on mobile devices. So data cannot be contained or fenced in anymore. Jason has also mentioned the subject of big data. The amount of information, of data that is sort of growing is just breathtaking. And so we must all understand we have to change our thinking of how we protect information. I'm not going to bother you with any statistics or data, you've seen those before. You've also seen this slide, so we need to accept the fact that a breach is going to happen. This is possible to every organization or government institution, a private commercial enterprise. It's going to happen. It's not a question if, but when. Now this also means we have to think differently. We cannot protect hackers from the outside through a strong perimeter. We have to protect the data, the target itself. So we must prepare for this breach, and our last defense, line of defense for protecting this information is really encrypting it. I'm using this analogy, don't know if you find it funny, but protect the cheese and not just a mousetrap. So, what do we need to do to secure the breach, right? So if the breach has happened, how do we protect our information? Well, we do this by way of encryption. And we need to encrypt data in every state, being it in motion, when it moves, be it when it's stored, data at rest. And as you know, it can be stored in many different locations and places. But we also need to understand that as soon as we start with encryption or cryptography, we're dealing with cryptographic keys. So we're shifting our focus from protecting the data to protecting the information. Hence, key management becomes very, very critical and fundamental. And last but not least, we of course need to control who is accessing this information. We want to be sure that only authorized people, entities can access applications and systems. We start actually off when we look at protecting our information with more the analysis, identification, classification process. So we first of all start by identifying where is our data. We classify what is sensitive data, that you know we really want to protect against breach of confidentiality or manipulation. That can be stored, that information can be stored on many different environments and systems, in applications themselves, on file servers, in databases, storage networks, virtual machines, cloud applications, mobile devices. So we have a huge range of possible areas where data information is stored and managed. Then we need to understand, of course, where are the keys for those individual systems and applications and databases. And last but not least, we need to identify and analyze who are the people, who are the processes that access this information. This may be internal users and administrators, it may be external parties, customers, partners, or it may be third-party cloud service providers, or service providers in general. Once we have identified and analyzed where the data is, where the keys are and who has access control, then we can apply protection mechanisms by, for example, encrypting our information at different levels. Data at rest at the physical data level, or in the cloud, in virtualized environments, or data in motion when it travels from different data centers, or data centers to backup centers, or from data centers to customers. Next, we need to securely manage and secure those keys. And I think SafeNet really has coined a little bit of a new term we call it crypto management, because it's more than just key management. Crypto management includes key management, yet also a secure trust anchor, a root of trust, essentially meaning HSMs, but also a fairly convenient, transparent provisioning system of cryptographic resources. So this collectively we call crypto management. And then we have, of course, the factor of strong authentication to those applications, as well as the keys. That has already been discussed in detail, among others, by Jason. So, to summarize, let's focus on moving our attention to protecting the target, the data, not the perimeter, but then we have to have a holistic view. We need to look at controlling access to resources. We have to look at the core, where we have, let's say, our crypto foundation, our root of trust. This may be HSMs and, let's say, root certificates or sub-CA certificates. Then let's have a look at information in the data center, where it can be stored in databases, in applications, mainframes, and storage systems. But data is also now everywhere in the cloud. So we're looking at virtual service applications and storage systems. And likewise, data is being exchanged. So it's communicated between intraday data centers and data centers to the cloud. So we have to look at the flow of the data throughout internal networks and between different networks. Let's look at the key technology to protect information, which is cryptography. Before I talk about cryptography, however, I just wanted to present this simple slide. Actually, I've snitched this from a presentation from the PCI Security Council, which they gave last year. And I think we always must remember that security is really a combination of people, of processes, of technology. Technology is not a magic silver bullet that solves the problems. I think the key, we all must be aware, a key problem are people, right? If they don't follow good security practices, if they don't utilize strong and good passwords, and of course there have to be good processes and policies installed. So the combination of these factors makes up security. So as mentioned, cryptography is a building block in achieving good security, but a very critical one. So I say the best technology to protect data is cryptography. And cryptography provides a range of security services: confidentiality, authentication or authenticity, integrity. Often those terms are used in conjunction, and non-repudiation. So these are services that cryptography delivers. When we talk about information security requirements, what Jason introduced earlier this morning, we talk about things like availability, auditability, accountability. These services is not something that cryptography can provide. They have to be provided through other, both technical but also procedural mechanisms. You have all been witnessing what happened during the course of this year and last year. You've all been following the Snowden, let's say, initiated public hype about the activities of the NSA and other intelligence companies. And I think a lot of people were now starting to question, does it really make sense to protect information at all? Because, the NSA and other agencies can access it anyhow. But in fact, it is the reverse. And you can read countless articles. A lot of people are absolutely convinced that the best way to protect information is still by encrypting it. And there are some industry marketing organizations, Gartner, IDC, they announced 2014 as the year of encryption. So it really brought encryption into the very awareness of the broader public. So it was a very good from let's say the perspective of a security vendor. It was a very, very positive thing. Now, when we talk about encryption, essentially, encryption is a mechanism of cryptography. And when we talk about encryption, we essentially talk about the confidentiality or privacy aspect. So we scramble data in a way that it becomes unreadable, unintelligible to the people who don't have the relevant or respective key. It's also important to understand that encryption without authentication is worthless. Because if we encrypt information, we also want to make sure that authorized people are able to access it and non-authorized people are not. So we need to couple encryption with good, strong authentication. I wanted to draw your attention to this quote in the middle because I think that's extremely important. It's from some representative of the Cloud Security Alliance, and I'm just reading this. When cryptography is used to protect valued data, the risk is transferred from the content to the keys. So all of a sudden, if we encrypt something, our data is secure. But now we have to put all our focus and attention to protecting the key material, right? So just encrypting something for the fun of it is not going to make you more secure unless you properly protect your keys. This is why we think it's important to protect your keys in the right way. This is also one of the reasons why as SafeNet, as a security or encryption company, targeting, let's say, the high-end segment, governments, financial institutions, large enterprises. We believe in strong hardware-based security. We're not really convinced of software-based encryption, because software-based encryption cannot provide you with strong protection of the key material. And there's always this discussion about strength and the key length, strength of cryptographic algorithms or key lengths. Well, it doesn't matter if you use AES 256-bit or RSA 8192 if your key is somewhere in clear text on the file, or if it's encrypted by a weak 4-digit password, then you reduce the super long key to the length of, let's say, 4 digits. And it's easy to break that password. That's why the most effective way to protect keys is to store them in a hardware-based environment. This may be something like a hardware security module, maybe a smart card, a TPM module, but you need some physically secure environment to protect your keys. It doesn't have to be all your keys, but at least the master keys or the root keys, which form are the basis of your trust hierarchy. Now, when we look at protecting information, we look at this pyramid, this inverse pyramid, where we look at the top, at the encryption level or layer. This is really where encryption takes place, at the application, at the transaction layer. So these are the applications or systems that utilize encryption as technology, or the encryption consuming applications. At the middle layer we have a key management layer that provisions, that delivers and manages those keys for the encrypting applications. And at the bottom we have a trusted key vault that stores and manages the critical master keys. So this just shows the same thing. At the top we have the applications and workloads. At the middle we have a enterprise key manager level, and below it's the hardware or trust anchor level. And this is really what SafeNet, with their data protection and crypto management solution suite, is addressing. All three layers. And you can see this. At the top we have our data encryption solutions. We have solutions to protect structured information in databases, unstructured information stored in file servers through transparent encryption. We have application level encryption. We have a storage encryption device, storage secure, that protects, for example, NAS, network attached storage systems. Protect-V is our virtual encryption solutions for virtual machines, and for communications layer 2 encryption we have our Ethernet encryption modules. So here are different SafeNet products and solutions for protecting data at rest and data in motion. At the bottom we have our crypto management platform, which consists of, for example, an HSM, a Luna HSM, which could be deployed on-premise or in the cloud. We have our key management system called Key Secure, or Virtual Key Secure. And then we also have a piece of software called Crypto Command Center, which becomes our crypto resource provisioning and monitoring system. So that's a product, a web service that allows easy provisioning of cryptographic resources to a consumer, to a client, by just a few mouse clicks. So it follows completely the cloud model. And these two crypto management entities themselves serve different ecosystems. So with the key management platform, we serve a lot of different third-party solutions, applications, very much in the area of storage and archival system, of cloud storage systems, file and disk servers, any form of a KMIP client. I come to that term a little later. On the other side, we have, for HSMs, likewise, a very large ecosystem of applications that integrate HSMs for security services. In the old days, that was primarily PKI applications. Things like a certificate authority or digital signature application, a document signing application. And the other typical use case for HSMs was in the payments world for protecting card payment transactions. But in the last 5 to 10 years, the number of use cases has just exploded. And it's constantly growing. There's more and more applications that require crypto, and if applications require or implement crypto, they're all potential candidates to be extended with HSMs for a much higher level of security. So a couple of words on Key Manager. So what is a typical challenge today? We have many, let's say, security sensitive applications that deal with cryptographic mechanisms. Think about certification authorities, web servers, application servers, key backup systems, payment systems, but they all implement their own security, their own key management, their own security policies. So what this means, this is still pretty much the fact today. An enterprise may have multiple dozens of major applications, but they all use their own key management and security and administration. So we end up with what we call islands of encryption, or so-called silos. Now, as you can understand, if more and more data is being generated, more and more information is digitally processed, this is not a way forward. The result is also that organizations, primarily large organizations, they need to manage thousands of keys. These keys reside in completely different environments in inconsistent states, and this makes it also extremely difficult from a compliance and auditing perspective to audit those keys. As I had mentioned, the use cases for encryption are growing at a staggering pace. At the one side, we have a lot of new PKI use cases. PKI in the old days was more limited to enterprise PKI, corporate ID cards, etc. But PKI now is really the basic platform for the Internet of Things. So if you think about smart meters, if you think about mobile phones, mobile devices, any form of smart card applications, they all are PKI based. You have some digital identity, a digital certificate that forms the identity of this element, and only this way you can really have devices, machine-to-machine communications taking place. So we call this next generation PKI. Same thing goes, for example, in the automotive sector, or think about equipment manufacturers of networking equipment, Cisco, Juniper, all these guys, for example, use digital certificates to embed into their devices to prevent also counterfeiting and piracy. Then we have cybersecurity mandates, regulations, laws that has been addressed. Internet of Things was mentioned. The move to the cloud, the virtual data center. Compliance themes are a major driver for deploying more and more encryption technology. So these are just a few cases, but it's obvious that the number of use cases is growing dramatically. Now this means the more you encrypt, the more encryption keys you have to store and to manage. And then this poses immediate questions like, where are all these keys located? Who controls those keys? When I have an audit, what does that mean? So it's obvious this is becoming more and more unmanageable towards consolidation and centralization. One of the reasons why I think virtualization is so big is because it just offers tremendous benefits in consolidating applications on common hardware, and this is the key driver here, to consolidate, to converge encryption key silos into more a centralized approach. Then there's the route to the cloud. Everyone, I think all of us individual users are heavy cloud users, even though we may not always realize that. Compliance is a major driver for key management, and of course, the most important one is security. So what are some of the goals of centralized key management? Well, as mentioned, it's the reduction of the exposure of keys through consolidating, bringing them all together into one central environment or location. Then another goal is the ability to have uniform key lifecycle management, consistent policy enforcement, unified auditing, and you have a single point of audit. And again, of course, this results now in streamlined operation, an increase in operational efficiencies, and decrease of operational cost and maintenance. You now have one or multiple set of administrators who are in charge of all your encryption solutions and your key management. You do not have dedicated administrative personnel for individual encryption silos any longer. And of course, you dramatically improve your compliance posture if you have everything pretty much controlled within one central environment. And of course, your risk profile also, goes down significantly, because the risk of data loss, data loss is a result of losing keys. If you have your keys sort of in one centralized location, of course all the keys are backed up properly to multiple sites, but you have everything under one environment and under control. So KeySecure is our centralized key management offering. What is it? It's, on one side, it's a self-contained hardware appliance, a key manager, but we also offer a virtual appliance, so it's essentially a virtual machine that can be deployed in the cloud or on-premise. It provides, there's different options, we provide different performance options and deployment scenarios. But I want to point out again the factor of centralization. With this secure, you have one single point for complete key lifecycle management of all your keys related to different applications. You have one point for auditing and logging, one point for secure key distribution and provisioning to key consuming applications, and a single point of contact for consistent policy enforcement. So KeySecure is this appliance, is this key management appliance, but of course it doesn't do anything on its own unless you talk to it. It's just like an HSM. So we need applications, which we also as SafeNet provide, more or less encryption applications like Protect File, our transparent file server encryption solution, ProtectDB, our transparent database encryption solution. We have a tokenization manager. ProtectV is our virtual machine encryption solution. All these are consuming applications that make use of KeySecure for provisioning, for monitoring of those keys, as well as the entire key lifecycle management. And then we have, of course, made numerous integrations with third-party application solution vendors, primarily through the KMIP protocol. I don't know, who has heard of KMIP before? Good. So KMIP stands for Key Management Interoperability Protocol. This is it's an OASIS standard, and you can call it, the new lingua franca, the new, interface between an encryption solution and a centralized key management application. Yeah? So KMIP defines an interface, an API, almost like, think about PKSys11 for cryptography. KMIP is an interface for managing, for provisioning, for exchanging keys. So KMIP is still young, but it's clear that this is the new or the most promising standard for key management, and we will see more and more end devices that will support KMIP, and then all these end devices can be supported by a key management solution like KeySecure. I just want to note that we've also just released a new version of KeySecure, version 8, and an associated set of APIs and toolkits, CryptoPack. Actually, it's the connectors I mentioned before. It's things like Protect File, Tokenization Manager, ProtectDB. But what is important also for people who have been users or customers or resellers of DataSecure, so KeySecure now is really the convergence of DataSecure and KeySecure. So KeySecure 8.0 is also provides centralized encryption capabilities. So it's one product that covers both needs. It's an encryption engine, but also a key management engine. Yes, I'll just talk about a few more points here. So when we look at key management again, here you see, for example, the ecosystem and the solution KeySecure supports today. You see KeySecure in the middle. Traditionally, it has been within an enterprise environment primarily deployed for storage and storage archive solutions. So we have direct integration with a lot of storage and archival and backup systems, tape drives. So KeySecure can serve those devices directly by provisioning those keys and monitoring those keys. But it could also, for example, talk to our storage secure system, which is a transparent storage encryption solution for NAS systems, network attached storage systems. Likewise, we can protect or manage the keys for sun switches like the Brocade one. And likewise, we can of course protect applications in cloud environments like Amazon S3, the S3 system. You can also procure KeySecure actually on the Amazon Web Services marketplace. So you can sort of lease it and follow a pay as you go, as you need model. So this ecosystem will expand as we see more and more application devices speaking KMIP. This slide just shows a range of solution partners that are integrated with KeySecure. So it's from those typical use cases like SIM tools, security, information and event management tools, storage and archiving, cloud storage, backup and restore. A lot of these systems speak already came in, become then candidates for integration. And as I had mentioned before, both KeySecure as well as HSMs are products that really don't do anything on their own. They need to be integrated, they need to be part of a solution and integration. And we're constantly growing our base of integration with third-party solutions. So the latest is that we have 37 plus KeySecure integrations. Now, coming towards the end, let's have a few words on HSMs, hardware security modules. So what is a hardware security module? I think the name says it all. It's a hardware-based appliance, a dedicated crypto processor, dedicated to protecting keys in the key life cycle. And HSM, of course, also provides all the cryptography, because it does not make sense to only protect keys and do the actual encryption process outside. So HSM stores keys and provides all the internal crypto. What is very critical is that this product has the right level of assurance or certification, because in some way this is your root of trust. If this thing is not secure and keys can be compromised, your entire, trust infrastructure falls into pieces. And this is why this is a typical technology where certification, third-party certification is extremely relevant. And typically here we have certification schemes such as FIPS 140-2 or common criteria are the two most important, let's say, more industry-wide certification scheme. So the HSM serves as a trust anchor. There's a couple more words or statements of HSM. What does an HSM provide? As I mentioned, it protects cryptographic keys, it provisions cryptographic functions, and for certain algorithms or operations, it can also provide acceleration of cryptography, primarily asymmetric cryptography. As you know, asymmetric cryptography is very time-consuming, and if you can have a hardware-based solution that provides, dedicated crypto chips, ASICs that are optimized to execute RSA or elliptic curve cryptography, you can of course improve the performance of application processing. And you remove the load of cryptographic processing from general purpose servers. Why do you use an HSM? By far number one, security. Because as mentioned earlier, when we encrypt, all our attention is moved to how do we protect the keys. This is what an HSM is being used for. Assurance in this case really means to the certification of this product, which makes also compliance a lot easier. Think about a payment processor that processes card payment transactions. They're obliged to undergo regular, PCI audits, and if the auditor can demonstrate, or you can demonstrate to an auditor that an HSM with that certification level is being used, it's much more likely to get this tick in your checkbox. And performance, I mentioned as well, is sometimes, especially for asymmetric crypto, think about high performance document signing systems like e-invoicing from utility companies, etc. This is an area where HSMs excel in providing dramatically improved performance. Benefits, compliance. You achieve your audits, much easier if you use best practice security that involves HSMs. I'm also saying it reduces cost, because we must not compare the cost of an HSM versus, let's say, free of charge software encryption, because you have to look at all the other, you have to look at a total cost of ownership model, you have to look at cost involved with compliance, a cost involved with what happens, what damage do you experience if you have a data breach. The damage you experience is, manyfold more times bigger than the cost of an HSM. And it reduces liability again, because you have a much stronger compliance posture. I'm just going to highlight a few, let's say, characteristics and strengths of our Luna SA HSM. Luna SA is probably our flagship general purpose HSM. This is also actually the HSM that is used by Amazon Web Services for their cloud HSM offering. And we just want to, we're not talking about cryptographic features here at all. We talk about more administrative management controls, security elements that show you, what these systems have to deliver today. So first of all, high assurance, of course, means compliance and certifications. But then we have, for example, if it comes to authenticating this device by the various administrator roles, we employ a concept which we call trusted path authentication via two factors. A trusted path is a secure channel, a secure device in this case, through which administrators authenticate to the HSM. So authentication does not happen over an uninsecure environment like a workstation or a server, but you have a direct secure path between the role, the user, the administrator, as well as and the HSM. And authentication is done by two factors. So it's not just a password, it's a device, it's a token. Then we strongly follow or implement the principle of separation of duties. So we have a sophisticated role concept where we support 6 different roles. And all these roles we can further split into multiple users by implementing what we call an M of N secret sharing concept. So for each role you can individually define your number of users. Keys in hardware is one of the philosophical principles in SafeNet. We believe the best place for keys is inside an HSM. And this applies particularly to very sensitive keys. If you think about a root CA private key, this is by far the most sensitive key. If this key is compromised, then all your certificates are invalidated. Yeah? There's no more trust. This is why we have, for example, particular models in Luna SA that do not allow a private key. This could be an RSA private key or an ECC private key. We do not allow that key to come out through an interface, through a cryptographic interface like PKSys11 or Java. So we disallow the export of that key from the device. We still may support, or we still support making a secure backup of that key from HSM to another hardware-based backup device. But again, we do not allow the possibility to extract that key. Then we support multiple partitions. Partitions are logical HSMs within a physical HSM. So this means you can serve many different applications or tenants from one physical HSM. So this makes it also very attractive from a service provider perception. Then of course it's critical to have a secure client to HSM connection. This is SSL based. Performance, of course. High availability and load balancing, a very strong feature of Luna SA, so you can cluster multiple devices together in a so-called HA group, and then they behave as one big logical, as one virtual HSM. And they provide, for example, for automatic key replication or synchronization in the background. So if an application generates a key on, let's say, physical HSM1, then in that HA load balancing mode, that key will be automatically replicated, synchronized transparently to the other HSMs. Another worthwhile point is remote administration and backup. So we allow a Luna HSM that sits in a data center across the world and in a different country to remotely administer it, conveniently from the office, from the workstation of an administrator sitting in a remote office. Likewise, he could perform backups remotely. The keys would be, of course, cryptographically securely transmitted, but they would then be physically backed up and stored again in a hardware device. We do not allow HSM stored keys to come out to a file. They only can go to another backup device. Integrations I have mentioned. Then we have, again, already strong built-in support for KMIP. So KMIP, or the HSM becomes a KMIP device that can be managed, monitored, provisioned by a key management solution like KeySecure. And of course, we have extended Luna to really work well in a cloud environment. First of all, by adding the capability to bind an HSM to a particular client. And as you know, this is difficult in a virtual environment because you can copy, for example, an entire machine, the virtual image. And in this way you could, for example, move a Luna SA consuming client to another instance or to another machine. And we prevent this by adding another security element called HTL, Host Trust Links, which securely binds that HSM to a particular client. This could be a virtual one, but it could also be a physical one. And it prevents copying of that client to another machine. And Crypto Hypervisor is our offering for dynamic provisioning of HSMs and cryptographic services.
Already for coffee? Yeah, already.
2 minutes?
2 minutes? Okay.
Yeah.
If they will allow you, then I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I will just conclude this with the Crypto Hypervisor. As I said, this is an addition to Luna SA today, but it will be extended to other SafeNet products as well. And it's our cloud-based, service provider-based provisioning module for providing on-demand cryptographic services. And it happens really following a cloud model. You select from a catalog of HSM services, and these services will be then allocated to consuming applications and users. So again, with HSMs, we have lots of different integrations from different use cases in this wheel. We're not going through those in detail. All I want to just show as a last slide is our offering of HSMs. So we are probably the vendor with the most HSM products and models in the market. So you see here many different form factors, network appliances, adapter cards, PCI Express adapter cards. We have USB attached devices. And of course, these products also partially support different functionalities and features, as well as performance levels. So we do think we can cover actually all market needs today with a specific model, and we'll of course extend those to address and cover future needs. So with that said, I would like to thank you for your attention and open the floor for any questions there may be.
Yeah. If you have any questions, raise it now or during the break.
No. If we are already over time,
I think we are already over time, so actually
defer it.
now it's coming the coffee break.
Yes.